Sharing good news. Very good news, Michael. Okay. Continuing with the mimer. Balaylahu, that night. All right. When God is our shadow, then will become Maim Hapanim Lapanim. The water reflects the face that we show, that we express. We create the shade, right? We create our shade. The reflection that we are given is a reflection that we show. So then will be the Lev Adam El Yain. Then God will reflect back to us. So then this can then affect the concept of sleep above, as it were. Right? Isn't sleep, but the idea of sleep. Right? In other words, in the stead of that the Einei Vaya, that the eyes of God are upon the righteous, his ears to their request. So in a similar manner, in all other matters that are called hashgachas, that God providence is safekeeping over us, because of the lack of our avodah, our divine service down here, so we create a reality that God removes himself higher and higher. Till we sense that God is asleep. And what happens when a person's asleep? Then there could be the hashgacha from above, um, the providence can be in opposites, two opposites, meaning there could be um, a lot of good that comes from above, but it's not going to be drawn down into a good place. But the opposite of good. So, in a way that the Jewish people will not get that good coming to them, that in a manner that it should be in a way of the fact that it's me. that God has chosen us from all nations and has exalted us. Yeah. So how do we turn around that situation? How's that situation turned around? So we have to arise in that lama tishan avaya, that Hashem should not be asleep above. That's only going to come again through us. We create the reality. And that will have to be with Mesirus Nefesh, self-sacrifice. What does it mean? Why self-sacrifice? Because when you're in a situation that you're asleep, so as we described sleep um, previously, what is sleep? Sleep means you can't see what needs to be seen. You can't hear and understand what needs to be heard. To the extent that it's possible that, when you're asleep spiritually, then, that you could make mistakes, right? And I think actually might be today's Tanya that he's quoting now. Wow. I think it's today's. Wow. What happens when you sleep? You have a dream, and often you have a nightmare, right? A nightmare. Second. Um, you have a nightmare, and it's sometimes feels so real, and it's like, what's the word I'm looking? It's can be very upsetting and very I can't think of the right word. Okay. Brings sorrow, brings pain. The point being that when we're spiritually asleep means our mind, right? Right. We can't see things properly. We can't hear things properly. That's what it means. What we see and what we hear is like in a dream, is like, can be very, antagonizing against you even. It's all a metaphor, right? Your what you see and what you hear could be giving you a nightmare. Wow, this is amazing. Wow. Now, in other words, what exile means, the situation we're in, we can't trust what we see and what we hear. We can't trust it because we're not seeing godliness, we're not hearing godliness, so we can't trust it. It's dormant, it's asleep, those faculties. So what are you left with then? You know, what are you left with? I heard a good word. Someone came to a very poor Jew and told him, yeah, he was an angel from heaven, Malach Machol, and he said, you've been serving God so well, I'm going to offer you a blessing. One blessing. He was blind, had no children, and dirt or poor. So either you can have your blindness removed and you could see, or you could have children, or you'd be wealthy. Hmm. And I give you 24 hours to think about it. Make your choice. So his wife says, children, of course. You need children. His friends tell him wealth. But he's thinking he want to see. So what's he going to choose? And he tells them, only choose one. You can only choose one blessing. So the next day he comes back to him and he says, my wish is that I could see my children eating off gold plates. It's only one wish. uh, that's what we want, right? Oh, isn't that beautiful? So, yeah, we wish we could see, that we could see godliness. But Gullus is, we don't. Exile, we're in exile. There's a darkness, we're asleep, it's time to sleep. So we don't see it. You don't hear godliness. Anybody comes in with this stupidities to the class is just going to be um, taken out and blocked. No need people coming here to try to. You got such weak arguments that you have to come and try to prove what your beliefs are by pushing it down people's throats. Like, who's asking you for your stupidities? Bye, Richard. Don't accept, you're going to burn in hell. Wow. If you don't accept responsibility for your life, you're not going to burn in hell. You're going to burn right here in your own hell that you make. Yeah. But here's the beautiful thing. So we're not perceiving godliness. We're feeling ourselves. So what do we need? The Aveda. So we can't, the Aveda of seeing, of hearing, right? Which is when you're awake. Daytime, you could see. Well, we're nighttime, right? Balayla Ahu, remember the name of the mimer. At that night, right? Time of darkness. So what we have to come on to is Mesiris Nefesh. Mesiris Nefesh translates as self-sacrifice. The Alter Rebbe explains that in chapter 18 and 19 of Tanya. Self-sacrifice there means um, as Jews have, you know, as here someone is crusades, Inquisition, either accept or be killed. Jews were killed. Thank God today, all you have to do is remove that person from online. Yeah, just delete. That was the Mesiris Nefesh. That was the self-sacrifice, giving up your life. But the word Mesiris Nefesh means to give over your soul. So there's a very soul, meaning your life. But also the soul means, what's the first expression of the soul is desire. Give over your desire. Give over your desire. In other words, what you want. And it's not about you. It's not about what you want. Right? It's about what God wants from you, what God needs from you. So when you're asleep spiritually, that we can do. Right? We can't appreciate God with our minds. We can't appreciate him with our hearts. Right? Because it's Balaylahohu. It's that night. Night. And not just night. Not night that you could point with your finger and say, oh, no, no, no. That night. Nondescript. Not this night, which you could point. Oh, this is night. It's so dark. It's that night. I don't even know which one. Others, the confusion. When you have that Mesiris Nefesh, you give yourself over in such a manner, then you affect it above in heaven. This is the first. Right? We affect heaven above. That instead of God removing himself higher and higher, right? Meaning higher and higher, meaning that we don't sense him and that we sense God is asleep. Through this, we create Nada Dashnas, that he is awoken, Balayla, Nada Dashnas HaMelech, as the verse in the Megillah goes, and that night was moved, awoken, the sleep of the king. And the metaphor of, well, the storyline is we've expressed is that night the king Achashverosh awoke. He couldn't sleep. And the metaphor of it is that Malka Shalaylam, the king of the world, God, awoke that night. Why? Because we didn't wake up in the sense of our minds are clear, our hearts are clear. No, it's his nefesh, self-sacrifice. We gave ourselves over. We gave ourselves over. That's what we did. This is what it means. I am asleep, but my heart is awake. That even though I'm asleep in exile, nonetheless, my heart is open. My heart, right, the Nekudas Yadus, the Pintal Yid, the quintessential point of the divine soul, is awake. It is complete. It never lost it, right? There used to be the bumper stickers, right? People said, I found it. It meant this other religion, right? I found him, right? In other words, I found idolatry. Um, and we had a bumper sticker that said, we never lost it. The Jews never lost it. We don't lose it. It's just asleep in us, right? But when you have Mesirus Nefesh, you give yourself over, right? Because my heart is open, meaning the quintessential point of the Jewish soul is open. This is what the idea of self-sacrifice, giving yourself over to God. So that's the heart of the Jewish soul. And as a result of that, then comes that God, Lo Yanu V'Lo Yishan Shem Yisrael, the God isn't asleep. He awakens. And he is very much there in our lives. And we sense it then. All right, folks, good